She was a young mother of two who disappeared 2 months ago from her West Michigan home. Amber Griffin is still missing, the presumed victim of a homicide. Her boyfriend has been charged with murder, but police say clues left behind help tell the story of her death. Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker and producer Carter Gent spoke with police, family members, and others who knew her. Tonight, Ken is taking us inside the investigation and the search for her body.
Brian, those clues left behind in the disappearance of Amber Griffin include blood discovered inside a home and on a car, a 911 call, and perhaps most critical to police, a receipt.
When Amber Griffin disappeared, those who knew and loved her spoke of her in the present tense. The only option for the hopeful. Perhaps, as her boyfriend told them, Amber had just walked away on her own. Or perhaps not. Now, they speak of her in the past tense.
She didn't just disappear, no. She wouldn't have.
The evidence police say suggests that she was the victim of a brutal homicide, even though they still have not found her body. Amber Griffin's mother, Carmen Griffin, also speaks in the past tense, except when she's with Amber's children. Amber is, or was, her only child.
She loved the kids. They loved being around her.
And they still think she might be alive.
Yeah, and her daughter especially.
Amber is the mother of a 7-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl. It was on Monday, June 22nd at 10:02 p.m. that Amber last texted her mom. Tell DC and Mello I love them, and I promise life will be better for all of us soon.
Amber and her longtime boyfriend, Derek Horton, lived here in Bedford Township, in a cluster of campers in a corner of Creek Valley Mobile Home Park.
He told her mother on Wednesday, June 24th, that she had walked away 2 days earlier.
He said he'd been out looking with his family.
Amber's mom and the boyfriend reported her missing that day to Battle Creek police. "Where are you?" Amber's mom texted her. "I reported you missing. We are looking for you. Call me, please. I am worried about you. Where are you?"
His original story was that she was outside listening to music in the vehicle, and she just must have up and walked away. Left her ID, her wallet, her phone, her insulin. She's insulin dependent.
Police quickly grew suspicious. Amber always texted her mom back, and she never missed work on the HVAC line at Denso Manufacturing in Battle Creek without calling first. They found blood on the outside of the passenger side door of Amber's 2003 Chevy Impala. Horton told police she had cut herself. Police later found blood in the car's trunk. Then there was the history of reported violence, charges that he assaulted Amber twice in 2019, charges later dismissed.
She was scared of him, and she knew, like, she could not go to court. He was not going to let her go to court.
Police suspicions grew even more when they discovered a 911 call from Amber's phone at 2:02 in the morning on Tuesday, June 23rd, just hours after that text that she had sent to her mother.
911, where's your emergency?
Amber's mom later listened to some of that 911 call, just enough to ID the voices of her daughter and Derek Horton.
I heard him say, "Why would you do that?" And she's like, "Why does it matter?" And then in the distance, like, you can just hear her screaming, and they're getting away from the phone.
After Amber was reported missing, police learned that that 911 call had come from this home on Oneida Street and that Griffin and her boyfriend had been there.
Hi. Hey, I'm a reporter from Wood TV. Hoping to talk to somebody about the disappearance of Amber Griffin.
Charles Walker III owns the home on Oneida. Police say his grandson, who is now charged as an accessory, is a friend of the accused killer.
Yeah, they said there was a house party here and that Derek Horton was here and that she was here. No?
They said she was, I guess, they might have been outside, but nobody ever came in the house or anything. And,
yeah.
But if anything went on, it was on outside.
That police say is not what the evidence suggests.
Blood on all 3 levels of the house, the basement, the main level, and the upstairs portion of that house.
Like a lot of blood you're talking?
A pretty significant amount.
Enough blood to indicate that she was killed there?
Not necessarily.
They also found blood and hair on a basement window, the glass broken outward as if Amber had tried to escape.
I think that she was doing everything in her power to get away from him. That's why I think that there was a violent struggle that was taking place in there because of the numerous floors, you know, like I said, basement, main level, and upstairs portion of the house with blood.
Walker, the homeowner, says he heard none of it. Police say their investigation has found he was not involved in the disappearance.
If she came in, I don't know how she came in.
Police say the day that they searched that home on Oneida, they also discovered that Charles Walker, the owner of that home, also owned this home about a half-mile away on Wabascan. They say they searched the woods, and about 20 yards in, they found a pair of blood-stained women's pants.
Then came the discovery that police say clinched the case, also outside the home on Wabascan.
Well, at the end of the turnaround, there was a receipt laying on the ground.
A receipt from Mick's Hardware in Battle Creek, $8 cash, dated June 23rd at 2:31 in the afternoon. That was about 12 hours after Amber's 911 call and the day before Derek Horton reported her missing.
We went to the hardware store and watched the video, and sure enough, it was Derek Horton on video purchasing a shovel.
Amber's boyfriend, that same man who would later report her missing, buying a $7.99 shovel made in China.
That receipt really sealed the deal, and I mean, that was when he went from being a cooperating boyfriend to no more talking, lawyering up, and being lodged in the jail, which is where he's at now.
Police say that Charles Walker's grandson, Julius Haggerty, drove Horton to the hardware store. They've charged him with lying to police and being an accessory after the fact for allegedly hiding evidence. Police theorize Horton had moved Amber in the trunk of their car to the woods off Wabascan.
We have reason to believe that her body probably was laying, at least at some point. I don't know if she was dead or alive.
They believe he left her there and returned later that day with the shovel, but they don't know if he buried her. Police say they've searched the vacant home and outbuildings on Wabascan and the woods a dozen times with cadaver dogs, a drone, and a state police helicopter.
At this point, because we don't have her body, we don't know if she was strangled, maybe she was beaten to death. I mean, she could have been stabbed, she could have been shot. We truly don't know.
Because I put a bunch of fallen stumps right here, and that tree looks really bad.
The case is eerily similar to the 2010 murder of Venus Stewart in St. Joseph County. In that case, police found a Walmart receipt for a shovel, tarp, and gloves. That led them to a surveillance video showing her estranged husband, Doug Stewart, buying them at a store in Ohio. Even though her body was still missing, a jury quickly convicted Stewart of first-degree murder. Then, 2 years ago, Stewart led police to her remains in a woods, about 12 miles from where she was last seen.
He was seen walking muddy along Washington towards Baldwin.
And so, Amber's mom and volunteers keep searching.
If you got a chance to talk to Derek right now, what would you say?
Just tell me where Amber's at.
Derek Horton refused our request for a jail interview. We also reached out to his attorney, but have not heard back. We have a much deeper dive on the story on our website, along with a link to a GoFundMe page for Amber Griffin's family.
And Ken, your reporting shows there's a mountain of evidence against Horton. He hasn't gone to trial yet, and they haven't found the body. Do they need the body to have a conviction?
Well, obviously the police sergeant we talked to would prefer to have the body because, you know, they don't know exactly how she was killed, but they say there's plenty of evidence that they still think they can get a first-degree murder conviction, just like they got in the Doug Venus Stewart case.
And certainly the family would like her back.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
Sure. Ken Kolker, thank you for that. If you are the victim of domestic violence, there is help available. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. We also have more resources listed inside of Ken's story over at woodtv.com.